Welcome to Slow News Day. I'm Steve Poikinen. Sarah Hall is on a vacation. We're here highlighting artists, activists, organizers, and agitators pushing back against late-stage capitalism here in the heart of the empire. And I'm so pleased tonight to be joined by our good friend Lindsey Scharmyn, who is the creator, founder, I don't know, mama.
I don't know either.
Mama. To the Eyes Open network that we're a part of, along with Brad Tracy, who is the creator of JFK to 9/11, which is an excellent website that you should be looking at. And do I call him Balderson?
Yes,
you know?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Our brother Ben Balderson, who hosts Odin's Alchemy on the Cauldron.net on radio, and I can't goddamn remember the name of the TV station.
French TV, I think.
French TV. Okay.
Yeah. And he is bald, Balderson, but he's also got a hell of a beard to make up for it. So I think it all balances out.
It's true. It's true, and it's frequently adorned.
Yeah.
And Claude Furry, who hosts Talking Nonsense, which is excellent if you are into talking and nonsense. If you like talking and you like nonsense, you will love Claude Furry. How's it going, Lindsey? How are you?
It is good. I'm good. I just got out of acupuncture, which is just like an hour of bliss. If people haven't tried it, I highly suggest it. It's good for everything. It's like I go for pain management, but it's also good for just relaxation. And I swear to God, any ailment you feel like you have, even if it feels like it's too small to seek medical help for, acupuncture can cure it. I'm not even an acupuncturist. I just want people to do the things that I find that bring relief. So it's so cool. And I found an acupuncturist that's like a block from my house. I can walk there. It's nice. It's cheap. She's wonderful.
That's awesome. You know what? It just dawned on me that I didn't even mention what the name of your fucking show was and why you're here. You host Rogueways, and Rogueways is fucking awesome. It is hands down my new favorite conspiracy podcast, and I don't say that lightly. I don't, because a lot of love for Sam Tripoli.
Wow, you just blew me away.
Well, it's okay. So here's why. And I think this is maybe where we'll meander a little bit. Like, I feel like I know you a lot better than I either have familiarity with half of your guests, or they're people that I was totally oblivious to, that I haven't heard on other people's shows, so I get more out of the new information than I do kind of like going down the same road with the same guests over and over.
Totally. That's an honor to hear. So, thank you.
In terms of like new shit that has been around a year or less, man, yeah, hands down, it's Rogueways.
Woohoo! Thank you. Especially for us. We're not obviously very well known, but I always love it because I just do this. I really do just do the shit for the fuck of it. Like, I love doing it, and it's fun for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it because I have very little time in my life. But it always astonishes me when other people enjoy it as well. I'm like, well, that's cool. That's like the perfect marriage right there.
So I'd like to crib from your show, and I'd like to ask you a pointless question.
Yeah.
So, except for like California and Australia, which is currently on fire, like the rest of the northern hemisphere is experiencing this negative 60, don't, your piss freezes outside.
Yeah.
don't go outside, like cold. And it was colder in Chicago than like the coldest place in Antarctica, and fucking
crazy.
Okay, so how much of that is white Jesus' wrath for our sinful nation?
All of it, 100%.
100%.
White Jesus is sick of our masturbation and our abortion, our celebration of sexuality everywhere. No, I do wonder though, how much of it is manipulated by things like HARP or whatever other technologies we might not even fully understand. Like, what's that crazy ass thing out in the middle of the fucking ocean? Like the NORAD X something, or
Oh,
I don't remember details. Do you know what I'm
right.
talking about?
I vaguely know what you're talking about. I haven't heard enough about it. That would be a
I
really
know.
fun show.
I don't know enough about it, and I don't know enough about HARP. Honestly, I'm not a scientist, but there's shit like that where we know that they've been manipulating the weather for at least 100 years, documented, not a conspiracy theory. And we also know, this is a conspiracy theory, but we tend to see that the technology that they had available and the things that they were testing once it comes out 20 years later was like 20 years beyond what we thought or more. So I feel like if they've been doing it, they have a track record, they have a stated desire to use it as a weapon. And I'm saying they because I don't know who. Like, is it the
Well, I
Russian
mean,
government doing it? Is it,
we
our
know
government? Who knows? But
we
I feel
know
like
that
it's
there's
got to be happening.
we know that there's videos that you can still find, like on YouTube right now, of the Air Force presenting on geoengineering,
Yeah.
and it's not, when they come right out and say it, and people still go, "Oh, you're crazy," when you can be like, but here they're talking about, if you go to their website, they talk about it. There's whole fucking uh, just different areas from like DARPA on that
Yeah.
have geoengineering programs, and they're not like shy about it. Dubai
No.
raining every day at the same time is a geoengineering program. There's nothing conspiratorial about that. The reason that they make it sound conspiratorial is to discredit anyone who's saying this, hey, this might be harmful.
Yes. Or
Maybe
like, hey, those
saturating the.
clouds are fucking weird looking. Like, did you look at that? Like, those are supposed to be clouds. Like, what I have this picture, I'm sure it wouldn't come out, but the other day, I mean, I look at what I call chemtrails a lot in the sky. I see them every day, but this one blew my mind because it just looks like, maybe you can see it if I hold it up. Is that lame? Yeah, I'm sure you won't get
Yeah,
any
let me.
resolution out of this, but it just looks like a skim on top of like a scummy lake. It's like a layer of filth,
Right,
like,
right.
and if you look close at it, you can see all these crazy like perpendicular and parallel lines within the structure of the cloud itself. And I'm just like, I feel like they're upping their game all the time and probably using new mixtures of whatever the shit they're spraying up there. And I don't know. So then things like this polar vortex happened, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure you've got the means to end that. If you didn't start it, you probably started it. But even if you didn't, you have the means to fix it, and you're not. So either way, you're culpable.
Uh, I'm laughing. I'm laughing for a couple of reasons. One is because I brought up to Sam Tripoli that geoengineering is still man-made climate change, and there's a lot of different ways that you can look at man-made climate change.
Yeah.
But the other is Sarah and I were watching. We were watching the news because we were looking to see if there was any reporting on the Los Angeles teachers strike.
Oh, I
Um,
haven't even heard about it.
okay, so the teachers conceded a lot, but they got some of the stuff they wanted. They got a tiny little pay raise, but more importantly, they got more healthcare professionals in. They got more support staff, and they got smaller classroom sizes. So, it's a step, and it's cool. But there was nothing on the news up here in Santa Cruz about it. And we did see, it was a how cold is it, report, and they went to like they went to somewhere in Michigan and and they went to Crown Point, Indiana, and I know where Crown Point, Indiana is because I grew up in the state, and that reporter was pissed off. She got sent to Crown Point to do that report, and you could tell in her eyes that, like, oh, fuck, I'm in Crown Point, Indiana. Like,
This is the worst.
I am literally in the armpit of America. My Michigan City prison is right over here. Gary's right over here. Chicago's on the other side. Like, nobody likes us in Kalamazoo because we're from Crown Point. It sucks, is what I'm saying. And the
Yeah.
reporter knew that. She did. She was aware. of where she was and what a miserable place she was in. But we saw a report saying this is how they're keeping the trains running. And have you seen this? Have you seen lighting the railroad tracks on fire to keep them from icing?
No.
It's a thing that people do. Like, the tracks have these little gas burners on them, and so that no commerce is slowed, right?
Wow.
Gotta keep those people generating that money and spending that money. The train, we gotta set the fucking tracks on fire. And it's hilarious.
It's such a good, like, metaphor for capitalism, really.
So we looked into it a little bit, and everybody says it's a centuries old technique, but you can't find like a date when somebody first set railroad tracks on fire, and they've got like a 2007 Long Island Railroad story. But they claim it's a centuries old technique, and I mean, we've had railroads for 2 centuries, so that would technically be true. But I couldn't find enough. It was fucking wild, man. Setting the railroad tracks on fire to make sure that people keep generating income. It's fucking...
That's where we're at.
I don't know
burn
if they
shit
do that
down to keep shit going.
I wonder if they do that in other countries.
I've never heard of that. I mean, it could be everywhere, and I'd have no idea.
That was brand new to me, man. We were laughing over that one for a minute.
Well, this is the kind of thing that I hate to always take it somewhere super weird, but it's the same with when they when old Daddy Bush died just not that long ago, and they shut all the post offices, and everyone was like, what the fuck, we have to shut the fucking post office, and they're pissed, and everyone's like, and then other people started saying, oh, we've always done that for every president. It's like, how come no one knew then? Like, how come no one had heard of it if we always do that for every president? But they could just so easily, in the age of the internet and digitization of everything, go back and just say, like, yeah, look, see, there's this document from way back when, and we've been doing it forever. And it's like, I wouldn't fucking know.
Right? And would you go to whatever Hall of Records or whatever congressional library and be allowed to look at that document to verify it? You know, I don't know what kind of credentials I don't know if you or I could just, I'm like, I can go get a press pass right now, you know, and it'll be legitimate because I also write for our local paper. I have earned my press pass. But, I don't know what you need. I don't know who gets to see it. You might have to be some kind of fucking doctoral student who's fucking, you know, whose guiding professor has been CIA for 30 years.
Right, or you might have to, like, make the appointment, so then you go check in at your appointed time to look at what they've curated for you, and it's like, I just feel very 1984 about the way that information works today. And then I think about, like, well, it was that maybe even if that's true that we didn't always close for post offices for presidents dying, and they did just start that, and they went back and changed the record, you know, or something like it, like burning fucking railroad tracks or whatever, and they try to make it seem like we always have. Well, then was that just like a test to see how many people go looking and digging and trying to figure out, like, the truth, so that they know they can get away with something even bigger?
Yeah, that's fucking. That's
where my brain goes.
that's a whole new rabbit hole. No, that is, man. That's fucking that's fascinating. And you're right. I've had 6 months worth of journalism erased. You know, that you can not find.
That's happened to you
anywhere. Yeah, and it's happened. You know, not we didn't keep up morning nightcap after we got shadow banned to hell and gone. And none of that exists anywhere because I didn't have a backup, nothing backed up through the fucking system. There was no cloud storage involved. So when the website disappeared, all of that disappeared. And it was like, I mean, I'm bragging a little bit, but it was good shit, dude. I fucking, the reason we got shadow banned is because more and more people were gravitating this, because nobody was talking about fucking Standing Rock. Nope, you know, and the few people that were all talking to the same people.
hey, it's not okay to get upset about our government like reinforcing a corporation's land claim on native territory where there's a battle going down about it and they're abusing people's rights and beating people and harming people, using our tax money to do it. We're not allowed to get outraged about that, but fuck should we get outraged about a white kid standing up and smirking, I guess. We should all get so outraged and talk about it nonstop for weeks, but don't fucking get mad about Native American shit or whatever.
That my favorite point out of that whole thing, and I think I put it on my face page, was that this particular Native American got more media coverage than the entirety of No Dapple, and it turns out that like he played fast and loose with his background, if not outright lied about it when he didn't have to.
Right.
The kids had no real business being there in the first place because the fucking women's march that they went to go protest was happening in a completely different spot, and they just decided that they were going to meet the bus here and put these kids like miles
right
away
in the middle.
Yeah.
Right next to some screaming Israelites.
Yeah, right next to which is my favorite fucking part about that, because after the first day, when it all fucking came out, when the rest of that video was made so fucking public that even goddamn CNN had to talk about it, the Black Hebrew Israelites dominated a news cycle for like 6 days, dude. And they are the most nonsensical bunch of motherfuckers. Like,
well, I didn't even know who they were until that time, that day, and then I was like, who are these people? I'm like, oh, this is a thing. So they just got so much free press.
It's a thing, man. I have a buddy, one of my really good friends, Keith Cunningham, went to Tuskegee University, and he was, and he told me about the Black Hebrew Israelites when he ran into them as a student at Tuskegee. And that's how I found out about them. And I looked into them a little bit. I was like, holy shit, are you kidding me? You're like hella tan fucking just Andy Kaufman's running around over here, man. You're fucking wild. Like that, I genuinely wanted to believe that it was like performance art, right?
Yeah.
Like Vermin Supreme.
You can accept almost anything if it's performance art.
Yo, like it's like Vermin Supreme level performance art. It really is, except for like it's more of a Bob Saget stand-up routine style with the words that they choose to use, and fuck, man, they took over the news cycle and all kinds of crazy shit went down. We orchestrated and fucking pulled off a coup in Venezuela while these motherfuckers are talking about fucking you committed a face crime and now we're going to fucking tell the world about it. We're gonna fucking
and try to get people to physically harm you by offering sex acts and look, and I love that. And pull off a coup in Venezuela, and no one gives the shit. But good God, let's talk about it for 2.5 years.
Yo,
maybe 4. Let's talk about it for the rest of time. Let's put it in the history books. Like what?
It's brilliant, man. And like what I had to say about it really was that it was fucking shitty choices by shitty people all around. And the only thing that this proved is that shitty people making shitty choices will dominate a news cycle if it fucking makes people further retreat to their red corner or their blue corner and fucking order more MAGA hats or order more pussy hats and fucking it reinforces the tribalism. It makes people more insular. Fucking like right after that, dude, anytime you tried to look at that situation larger than the context it was delivered in, you got jumped on, crucified for that shit. And there's no goddamn reason for it other than the propaganda's fucking worked. Like,
It's worked.
and people who are unwilling to look at that, like maybe we've been worked over.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's scary how well it works when I look around, and I genuinely don't know if it's getting worse or not, or if I'm just getting less capable of like dealing with the bullshit or something. Like I really don't know. I have the same problem with aging in general. I like, I feel like I'm becoming more crotchety, and I'm like, is shit getting worse or am I getting more crotchety? I don't know.
Yes, and I think that as you age, you should become more and more radical
Yeah.
in your thoughts, in your actions. And if you're going to be the crotchety old lady, or I'm going to be the crotchety old man, might as well add crazy to that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and fucking drop some bombs, and maybe maybe people will pick up on it along the way. Like,
You got less and less to lose, and you realize more and more that it doesn't fucking matter anyway.
right? For all
I
I
just
know, it's a fucking simulation. So you might
right.
as well, like, cue some people in.
Even one of my students today was like, "But seriously though, we could be living in a simulation." And I was like, "Boom!" Every once in a while, you guys blow me away.
Uh,
That's pretty cool.
I caught one of my sons saying to my youngest son, uh, because he was watching some shit on TV. Well, not TV, but Netflix, which is
Right.
also fucking in and of itself an entirely different subject. But anyway,
Yeah.
I heard one of my sons go, you really can't trust the government, right?
Yes, you raised him right. You're like, I'm so proud of you today.
All right, here's a popsicle. Don't ask why.
Yeah. Just positive behavior reinforcement.
Good
That's
on
awesome.
you.
Yeah, I met an older lady a while ago, and she became my sort of fake grandma for a year because I was living in a weird place, and she was my neighbor, and she was super sweet. And I brought her some casserole I had made one night, and she took a bite, and she was like, "I don't like this. I'm not going to eat it." And I like loved her so much more. I was like, God, that's awesome. Like, how many people are gonna just eat it anyway because they want to be polite or whatever? And then, and she was like, I'm 80 fucking years old. Like, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna spend my time eating shit I don't want. I'm like, dude, you're such a good role model. I wish everyone knew you.
Hell yeah.
I mean, you want to be polite. She was polite about it. She wasn't mean. She wasn't like, this is shit and you suck. She was just like, I'm not gonna eat it. I don't like it. It's like, word. Thank you. I appreciate your honesty.
Right? I'm never taking you out to
I
dinner
feel
with
like
me, but, you know.
yeah. I'm becoming more like that. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like that. Stop doing it. Go away or something. I don't know.
I guess the way that I come across at times is so confrontational that even if I'm delivering a positive message, it gets lost on people. And
I think I have the same problem.
and I'm
I hear
trying
some
to like
sirens.
I'm trying to figure out if that's because I don't read it as confrontational. I'm sure it sounds confrontational when I'm fucking irritated or worked up. But I don't believe I start off that way unless there's an obvious reason. Like somebody saying that Kamala Harris was a prosecutorial renegade.
I don't even know who that is. So
So she's Brown Hillary from California. She was our attorney general. She was a San Francisco DA. She's a senator
trying to
now.
say that she kills and eats babies, or
Um,
sorry.
I don't know that. I don't know that
Okay.
for a
I'm
fact.
guessing she's not like automatically in the spotlight all the time and at the
She
like
is
rising into the
now.
upper echelons. Probably not.
She is now. And the way
Huh?
that you can tell
Thank
how
you.
propagandized your friends are, you can jump onto your social media and say Kamala Harris is a cop.
And see
And
what happens. Well, I'll tell you now though, like The people who respond to my posts on social media now are all of them are from like Eyes Open and places like that, because everyone else has learned to unfollow me. Not because I don't think I think I'm like you. Like I don't think I'm angry and I don't think I'm hurtful, but I will definitely defend what I see as sense, and I usually don't stop defending it until the other person like gives up or goes away. Like I'll change my mind if I'm presented with information that leads me to do so. I think I'm pretty fair and rational, but people don't like that. They want to say what they think and have you like cow down or just agree to disagree or something. And so people don't like me much anymore. They still love me in real life, but they won't talk to me on social media.
Awesome. I do start out angry sometimes because I kind of feel like if the people that are telling us that we only have like 11 years left are right, and there are people who are manipulating the weather for nefarious purposes along with that, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to have an irreversible climate collapse, which is going to drive everybody further and further inland,
Right.
to more and more inhospitable places, but easily controllable.
True.
Or some entity will swoop in with the all-saving fucking weather device, and we as a species will be forever beholden to that entity.
Wow. I like that. That's a very thoughtful possibility. I was just listening today about to Freeman Fly. Sometimes he'll throw on like an old episode for the second hour, kind of like a recap of something that was really cool. And he was talking to a guy, can't remember his name, but they were talking about alien interaction, or seeming alien interaction. They were flat out about it. Like this guy said he's met aliens and has face-to-face interactions with them, and knows that they've been interacting with our governments for hundreds of years or thousands of years or whatever. But he seemed to think that that was a good thing, and that they're trying to get us to a certain level of development, almost like the Prime Directive shit from Star Trek, where like once we're there, then they can formally interact with us and everything will be better. And I can see how people would like that, but I tend to lean more towards what you just said, that maybe some entity group that would come and interact with us would probably, I don't know. I don't want to say probably either, because I don't want to assume shit so much, but it could be more nefarious like that we would then just become beholden and, like so many cattle.
So, we've had a guest on twice now, Lori Hullitz, who we need to have her back on for this exact reason. She has told me almost an identical story as the one you just told me about your friend.
Yeah.
I mean, down to the interactions, the benevolence, it's a good thing, that's why, and I just ran into her last week, and she was like, "Oh, I got some stuff I want to talk to you about," and blah blah blah. So that kind of reinforces
that would be fun to listen to.
I need to get a hold of her and get her back in here.
I would wait and I would trust my gut. Like if I saw on the news tomorrow, like, look, all the fucking aliens are here and there's motherships all over the place and we finally met, whatever they want to say they are, and I would wait to feel how I felt and trust my gut about it, because I think it could go either way. And I know one thing, like your son says, don't trust the government. So if they're the ones dishing it out, I'm going to definitely assume that it's probably not the best choice or the best people to be interacting with.
I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about my kids or anything, but in general, have you noticed, like, with the overall cynicism in a younger generation, they're more bent towards figuring out that they can't trust their government on their own without our help, and then b that you can like steer that kind of distrust and cynicism in a positive direction if you approach it like you would if it was me or you talking about it?
It's so complicated for me to answer that question because so when I started teaching, I was on a Native American reservation, and there's this it's kind of a weird mix where there's this like extreme patriotism because a lot of Native Americans tend to be vets, and so they honor that, and so there's a lot of like patriotism, but there's also this law. I mean, I would venture to say it's that what's it called when your DNA remembers? Epigenetics sort of effect where there's, the government came in, took their entire fucking nation from them, their livelihoods, killed their culture, and destroyed them as a people. And so there's an equal or maybe greater amount of distrust for the government.
Genetically encoded trauma.
Generational
trauma.
Generational trauma.
People,
it's a real thing. It's science. Like, so there's that, and it's not just that. I mean, they talk about it still. Like, there's a pretty deep-rooted mistrust of the education system and the government in general. So I started my education career with that, and that was 10 years ago, just for formal teaching. Like, I've been in education longer, but then I also have had experiences where I've taught in private schools, and with that level of society, and there is almost no distrust of government. There's a almost undying just like loyalty and patriotism, and just like, yes, the government's great. And then I've taught in other countries, and there's this totally different fervor of patriotism that's not necessarily trust the government, but you fucking do what you can for your country because it's yours. And so who cares if there's problems, like, work past it. And so I've seen all of that. But having said that, in the past 2 to 3 years, I've definitely had a large amount of students that seem to question more, especially of authority in the government structure, and but also like the nature of reality and those types of things. So that's been really, really awesome to see. But then, like, can I like direct it in any way? I don't even know for myself what I would find to be a productive way to direct that. So I wouldn't know how to direct them in any way except to just, congratulate them on thinking. And hopefully keep them thinking.
Right. Make Philip K. Dick part of your required reading.
Oh, my favorite year was when I got to teach 1984 and Brave New World back to back.
Oh,
and it was so awesome. And then we got to watch all these dystopian movies, and like, that was pretty rad. I was like, because the raddest thing about it is they get to see like both arms of that level of control. Like the Brave New World is like make them happy until they just shut the fuck up and do what you want. And then in 1984 is like terrify the fuck out of them until they're too scared to do anything about it. And it's like they kind of started to see that like we have both of those things going on at once, and that's why we're so perfectly controlled. Like we're just happy enough and fat enough to like shut up, and then when we do get disgruntled, like they will fuck you.
Well, and in most cases, Carlin's right. We're just smart enough to run the machines.
Well, and that's the most terrifying thing that I've noticed is that truly something about the propaganda or the level of saturation of electronics, or I don't know what all the counterparts are going into it, but something is definitely making my students seem to be less just engaged and aware of the world, I think, in general, Well, and I don't know what that is, but and again, I really don't know if it's just me being crotchety or not. I think I'm noticing that, but I don't have the hard data to prove that it's not just me getting sick of shit.
No, I mean, because I have kids, a lot of my friends have kids, and there's a lot of people that are on my social media from when I started it who, like you, do not go anywhere near my posts. But yeah. I will occasionally see, theirs. And when they're complaining about their children, it's a lot of that, like they're disengaged, they're, stuck in a video game, and it's a full immersion into the video game. And we've all read article after article about how much time you spend on your phone affects how you feel about everything around you, and the likes are dopamine and all of that shit. And
it's an addiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so all of that, I mean, I can't imagine having to contend with that, because I feel like I had this, you went outside to play and you had like real life going on around you, and played video games and shit, but it was like, I don't know. I just feel like we had more of a chance to be more engaged. And I feel like kids they have less of a chance, but also they love it. So there's no worry about it. There's no like trying to stop it. It's like a full embrace. And so I guess that's like one of the worrisome parts about it is if you don't even see the trap you're in, then you will never leave it.
Right. Well, that's
So it's one thing to mistrust the government, but that's not where we're at really in the world. Like that's not the real threat. It is a real threat, but I feel like this other thing we're trying to define is a bigger threat. Like the culture in general is sick.
Have you ever read any Daniel Quinn? Ishmael, Story of B. Okay.
It sounds very familiar. I'm sure I should have read it.
The Story of B is a fascinating book, and I'm not gonna I'll give a little bit a little synopsis or whatever, but the main character is a Jesuit who is part of a secret order of Jesuits who goes around and assassinates people who are speaking too much truth to power. Now,
Wow.
stop me if you've heard this before somewhere else, but he wrote 3 books, right? Daniel Quinn did, and one is the Story of B is couched in between the stories of Ishmael, who is a talking gorilla who just drops massive fucking truth bombs.
Brad, I want to read all these books.
Oh my
Daniel
God,
Quinn?
Daniel Quinn, Ishmael, The Story of B, and then the 3rd book is called My Ishmael, and it's written from the perspective of 2 of the people that learned from Ishmael.
Wow, I've definitely heard of all of those at some point, but I've never had them so poignantly put in my brain. So thank you.
This is where I first really took the concept of the boiling frog really took root. Was in the Story
Right.
of B because it's written out so eloquently, and it has kind of the same feel as like what the movie V would be like in a non-apocalyptic society, like
Ooh.
in just normal reality, but or like a cozy fucking comfortable fucking non 9/11 pre 9/11 USA kind of thing, pre 9/11 world.
Dude.
So and it's written from the point of view of the guy who was there to assassinate this man, this B, for letting people know that, like, hey, look, this system that we're in, this is a new system. We've only been in this system for 10,000 years, and we've only competed with and killed each other at this rate because we started locking up the food.
Yeah.
And he goes through all of pre-industrial or of the 90,000 years or so of hunter-gathering, and how people lived communally, tribally, and but he's presenting all of this to people in, at the time, modern-day society, which was considered revolutionary by this order of Jesuits, and that's kind of how the story takes off. It's fucking fascinating, man. Like, the concepts that he lays out, like, you're going to be familiar with all of them, but it's more of, in my mind, it's not one of those things that necessarily wakes you up, although I hadn't heard the boiled frog analogy put so well before.
Right.
But it's all warmth, because it makes you aware that, like, what we think is not so fucking wild and out there that it's a ridiculous concept. The themes that we discuss in our shows, and the things that we write about, and the things that we talk about are concepts that are there for a reason, and are in a lot of cases not just generational, but like go back to hundreds, thousands years.
Right.
So it reinforces kind of the vibe that like what we're doing, though potentially dangerous, is definitely necessary.
Yeah. Interesting. I really like putting all of those ideas together into like a narrative too, because a lot of times I think people want to understand more and can, and there's so much information to sort through, but when you can present it in that form, it's more easily digestible. And like you're saying, if you have like this concept of the boiled frog, or even the Jesuits might assassinate people, or things like that, then it like will get people interested maybe in looking deeper into other stuff. And so I like the power of story and narrative to do that. On the flip side, they know that as well, and that's why we get so many narratives that are constructed intentionally and sent towards us, because it's easier to digest, it's easier to attach to, it's easier to identify with and put emotion into, and then internalize it. So it's a double-edged sword.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I don't often run into people that have read that guy, and there's a reason for that. You're lucky to find his books at a thrift store now. But
well, now I want to find like the graphic novel version of that, because that's the English class I'm teaching this year, is graphic novels, and like make my students read that for fourth quarter.
I'm gonna see if there is one.
I'm still undecided. We're actually reading V right now. We're about to start reading V for Vendetta, so I'm excited for that. And they actually chose it themselves. I let them choose which book they wanted to read next, and that's what they chose. So I was like, I'm so proud of you guys. They're like, it's about anarchy, right? I'm like, that's what makes it rad, dude. One of the many things that makes it rad.
Unfortunately, there is not a graphic novel of it.
Damn it, people, get on it.
But you can easily order it.
It's one of the things I'm looking to do is work with, I guess I won't name him because I don't know that he wants me to out it yet, but I want to work with this artist and start to develop some graphic novels, because I think, especially with our like fast paced and like give me it quick, and I don't have time to sit down and digest all of the details, it's like an easy way to get people engaged in different content. So I'm kind of excited about that possibility. Still writing my novels, but I want to do that also, just to add it to the pile of projects that I want to do.
right throw it on the list. Write graphic novels.
Yep.
That's awesome. Is it the artist that I might be thinking of? Is he?
He's definitely an Eyes Open.
Okay.
Okay.
Rad.
Now everyone's gonna know probably. Never mind. He might be an Eyes Open, maybe.
Okay.
You might know him.
I should not have asked you that. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. I don't think it matters.
Maybe the artist wants some props. You never know.
Yeah, true. I don't know. That's the thing. I never know what people want.
The last thing artists want is people knowing about their work. I guarantee you.
Yeah. We're like, well, even when you're like, I forgot to mention your show, I'm like, I would have never remembered. Like, I'm real bad at promotion, self-promotion, especially.
Dude, I'm terrible at it.
It sucks.
And then I feel a little bit weird when I do it, but I know it has to be done. Like, I know that my slacking on it is hurting this show,
Right.
And it's fucking like that irks me more than just. It should irk me more than going through with the promotional.
Well, see, we'll bring it back to the grandma who said, I don't want to eat this because I don't like it. I think part of the reason I love that so much is part of the reason I don't like to self-promote is I don't want to be like, here's this, fucking 700-page book I wrote. Because then people will be like, shit, now I have to fucking read a 700-page book or whatever. And I don't want to do that to somebody. But then if everybody just agreed to be honest and be like, yeah, no, I'm not into reading that, and that'd be totally cool and fine, then I wouldn't have such a hard time self-promoting. I don't want to blame it on other people, but like that's part of why I don't want to like burden people with like, here, go listen to these hours of show and read all this shit, and
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. Like, you get protective over what you created, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's really no one snowflakier on the earth than an artist,
True.
It's a level of like insecurity and ego,
Yes.
and they have to merge just right, and you have to.
Only in the perfect arrangement does it like line up well for you.
Yo, it's like having to get drunk enough so that you can shoot perfect pool all the time.
Yes. But like keeping that level of drunk is impossible. You've got it for like maybe 30 minutes. I totally have that. I don't drink anymore, but when I did, I was like 1.5 beers. I start the game, I finish the beer, but if I start a third or if I wait too long, like it's gone. So I've got just that window.
I don't drink anymore either, man. But when I did, there was a definite a zen level where
Yes.
where you got, and for me, it wasn't even like the next beer or the next drink put me over. It was I had a certain amount of sips, right?
Wow. Yeah. Like, okay, 10
Before
left.
I went from fucking Tom Cruise and Cocktail to fucking Homeboy and the
Nicolas
Basketball
Cage.
Diaries. Yeah, right.
Ever. Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Basketball Diaries. That was a weird one.
Oh, is that Leonardo DiCaprio?
That
And he's
was
like dying
Leonardo
from heroin.
DiCaprio. Way back in the day.
See, man, heroin's been ripping us apart forever. It's not a new thing. The only thing that's new is our supply increased. Brad, so I don't know what we were talking about, but I could tell a cool story from
Tell a
class from the
cool
other day if you
story,
want.
Lindsay. I want to hear it.
Maybe it's only cool to me, like anthropologically as a teacher, but we were talking about kids and like, what they are like now and stuff. So we were in class. First of all, my students are always on their phones. It's just like a thing I have to learn to deal with. But and that's cool, whatever. They're usually pretty good about just like checking it once in a while and like actually doing some work. So we get shit done. But one of them was on their phone and they pulled out and they're like, oh, did you know that so-and-so, it's this very, popular girl at our school, is TikTok famous? And I was like, what the fuck is TikTok? So there's more social media, like I can't keep up with the shit. So TikTok is a thing, I guess. You take little video clips. Probably everyone but me knew this, so I'm probably explaining it to everyone who already knows. But take little video clips, and the point is you're supposed to lip sync, but I don't think you have to. Like this person, at least, this person at my school, doesn't always lip sync. But this person has 216,000, I think, if I'm remembering right, followers. And I was just like, damn, like, what does that do to you as a young person, not even an adult yet? Like, you're that famous and you're getting that much attention just for how you look, which is cool. Like, I'm not like down on her for doing this or for enjoying it or doing something, she's being creative and producing, and that's cool. But I just like wonder what the effect of that is. Like, it seems like there has to be something that is going to be unbalanced when you have that much attention for just one part of who you are.
Right.
So that was the first thing. And then right after that, they were like suddenly switched to whatever else they were doing. And they're like, oh, look at this funny meme. And I go and look at it, and it's like the equivalent of, someone saying, I believe I'm anti-choice and we shouldn't have abortion. And then someone responding saying like, well, you're a fucking bitch, you whore. And they were just like, it's so funny. And I was like, it's not though. I mean, it's not clever. Like, there's some good memes that like roast and you're just like, oh, it's so clever. Like, and it's really effective. And like, this wasn't at all.
Right.
And then I was just like, it's not their fault. I'm not talking shit about them. Like, it's funny to them. And I get that it's cool. But I was just like, this is like Idiocracy. Where you're like, oh, you're fucking stupid then, you butthead. And it's like, that's the end of the argument. That's the end of the debate. Like, right. And everyone's laughing and satisfied. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Like,
well,
wow, I think we can do better than this.
A lot of that has to do with the media that they consume, too. The media that's targeted to young people, even to people that are in their, like, 20s and early 30s and shit like that.
Right.
It's all fucking brain dead. It's all fucking... just like mindless snark and fucking there's not a lot of depth. And in an era when you have access to like brilliantly written and produced shows, and even lower quality shows that you can download and listen to as podcasts. Like, with the content's there, is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like
You
it's,
could find anything.
but I don't know how to, like.
It is, so you're right. It's like the shit that's targeted to them is really, really dumbed down. And if that's you're saturated with that and you're saturated with this level of like self-obsession,
Mm-hmm.
which all teenagers have. It's not a criticism. Like we all had that when we were teens. It's a very normal part of development. It's a stage you go through, but when you're like being targeted to enhance that even more than it ever has been in the history of humanity, as far as I know, and it's at this level of just like debased stupidity, it is concerning.
216,000 people watching you lip sync for 5 or 10 seconds.
Right. And she's adorable. She's a very beautiful girl. So I totally see it. But then I'm also like, that's part of what bothers me, is like the protective side of myself, is I'm like 180,000 of them are just like the perviest, nastiest guys. No offense, guys, you're allowed to like women, but like there's something disturbing about that too. And I hope that she knows that. That's the other thing, is I'm like who do you have to guide you through that experience knowledgeably? It's a newish phenomenon. So.
Right,
yeah.
And like, I don't know, man. Like, if I was the parent of that kid, like, I'd be like, there's no fucking way that you have any kind of messenger on any of your shit.
Yeah,
like, just
right.
Straight
And
up,
then
you do not need to see that much unsolicited dick before you can buy a pack of smokes. Like this.
But like, what is more likely is, and I don't know, again, I'm not talking about this student's parents or whatever, but what's more likely is that a parent would be like, oh shit, I can cash in on this. Like, yeah, get her in the spotlight, get her an agent. Like, because there's another student in my district that is also like internet, like Instagram famous or something, for being good looking. And that's what their parents were doing. That was their tactic, was to get an agent and capitalize on that.
Oh
so probably,
God.
I'm guessing that'd be more likely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if as a parent I could like put my kid in a situation where like their nudes were gonna be auctioned off on their 18th birthday,
Yeah.
and like that's what Instagram models do. Like,
oh God.
There's a like. Do you remember?
I didn't know that.
Do you remember briefly hearing about the dude that like ratted out the Snapchat hookers to the IRS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you're an Instagram hooker, you have that going on. So it's
that makes sense. Yeah.
And I read a story where somebody straight up did like auction off their nudes on their 18th birthday, and they fucking raised like close to a fucking $250,000.
Hey man, part of me is just like, bravo, like you did it. If you use that money responsibly, you're set. Like,
There's
good
no
job.
way
But
an 18-year-old used that money responsibly.
no way. There's no way. It's impossible. Very, very
dude,
rare.
you gotta lose a lot of shit before you figure out how to spend money responsibly, or at least in my case. And I'm still not there yet. I'm learning.
Yeah. Eventually we try to get closer and closer to that point.
I turned 40 last year. It's It's
coming for all of us.
Well, it's fucking it when your rent and your bills are California rent and bills, and you're not making more than $150,000 a year. It sucks,
I can't even imagine making $150,000 a year, but I don't live in California. My bills aren't that high.
You don't qualify for, any kind of like government assistance or whatever, like over a certain threshold. And even though it's a little bit higher in California, like it's really not that high, So there's this like almost $100,000 or more than $100,000 range that you get, You know, you get what you get, and you pay your rent and your bills, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know? And somebody was talking about vacations like it was a thing that they did frequently. You know? Like, oh yeah, you know, and I'm like, fuck, dude, do you know how, like, a vacation for me, you know, there's 3 kids in my house, like, a vacation for me is not.
It's like a night that the kids are somewhere else and you just get to like chill on the couch.
Well, travel is really expensive, man, and like,
Yeah.
you know, flying, if you're gonna fly, unless you get some kind of screaming deal, even if it's a screaming deal, there's 5 of us, I'm paying $1,000, no
Yeah.
matter, like,
Just to get somewhere, let alone spending time there.
right. I don't know, man. I don't have a grand that I could just dedicate to that. Like, I don't know a lot
Yeah.
of people that do.
Right.
And
I've
the-
been intentionally childless my whole life, and I got a career not too late, pretty early on, relatively. So I'm very like fortunate, but I don't have like a ton of money, you know.
Mhm.
And so I just wonder, like, I always wonder, how the fuck do people have kids? Like, that shit is expensive. I know it has to be so expensive. I'm sure you can do it as frugally as you can. It's still going to be a bunch of money that I've never had.
When you do it as frugally as you can, at least here, you're still spending like $400 a week at the grocery store and never going out. You know?
That's crazy.
And that's like not buying extravagant things. That's buying.
Yeah.
That's like trying to buy fresh, healthy food for your kids.
That's like a month of food for me.
Uh,
And I am extravagant as far as that, you know, like I buy like organic and like fresh shit and whatever.
Right, right.
Hoity-toity
Well,
things.
you know, it's and we do when we can, but then it's obviously a little bit, and it's even going to Costco. Like a trip to Costco for pretty much anybody around here with children is fucking $250 out the door just because you're showing up.
Yes.
You know, it's at least bordering on $200 because that's just, and if you're lucky, it lasts you like 10 days.
Jesus.
Yeah.
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 Like if I didn't want to go to the store again starting right now and I was just going to eat through all of my actual food I have, I wouldn't have to go back to the store for like a month. I'm sure of it. I'm not going to test that, but
we could only eat rice and beans, you know, or
get all your clothes from a thrift store, only eat rice and beans, and only drink water. And then you're like, maybe you can make it.
Right? And, you know, shower once a month, whether you need it or not.
Yeah. This is where they want us, though. This is like the new middle class, is that you're just barely getting by.
Well, there's
right?
no, I mean, they've done report after report that they talk about like the shrinking or vanishing middle class, but now they consider people who are making like $250,000 middle class. Fucking, the goddamn fucking Chuck Schumer, like, or thought people who made like $4 million, $4.5 million a year were middle class.
What the fuck? That's
And,
like so out of touch.
Dude, Forbes magazine had a similar theory. They're like, well, if you're making like just under 5 million, then you know you're fucking like middle class in New York City and fucking.
Oh my god. Must be rough.
Are
being
you
middle
kidding
class,
me, dude?
5 million.
I don't like it's what concentrated wealth has done. It is made it really difficult for a lot of people to fucking get by. And I'm reading the thing about like the 15 people freezing to death in Chicago. 15 homeless people died or something. I'm sure that there's homeless people all over that fucking did not make it. I looked up how many empty homes Chicago had at the end of 2018, and it was 2,379 empty homes.
Jesus.
There was this.
What is it?
There was an asterisk on it that said does not include apartment or condo or townhome units.
Oh my god, it's literally houses.
Empty houses. Literally empty houses. And people are dying in the street. My sister lived in Chicago for a number of years, and she recently moved back to Indiana. And the number one reason for it was because she was finding herself priced out.
Yeah.
And she worked for a large company. She was in charge of like an entire country for the division
Wow.
that she worked in. She was like the number 2 or 3 person there for it. It's not like she was making crap money, but she was
Yeah.
not making survive in Chicago money. Not
You hear that
enjoy
all the
life,
time now
and,
too.
you know, and they don't have children. She had 2 incomes in her house, no kids, and they were finding that they could not do the things that they enjoyed doing and wanted to do and still make their ends meet, and it was a quality of life decision.
Yeah.
And it's fucking awesome that she did it. But it's a common story now of getting priced out of where you live, and then going someplace
Right.
less interesting, less desirable,
Yeah, or you have to put up with the bullshit of like, a 2 hour commute there, a 2 hour commute back to live somewhere somewhat close and still work there to, and then it's also a quality of life. Like, what is your whole life is just sitting in a fucking car or on a bus or a train or whatever. But
Mhm.
I don't know.
And
I just moved this year somewhere where I commute for an hour each way, and I enjoy it because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I actually like can get some shit done or whatever. Like, it's not bad, but I can't imagine doing more than that. And I don't know. I don't really want to keep doing it that much longer. It's nice to be able to live where you work.
The reason that we're getting gentrified here is because Silicon Valley read an article about 10 years ago about how cheap it was here.
Oh, God.
And we are less than 30 miles away from San Jose.
So you're perfect little place.
And 45 miles or so from Facebook, and like I've had friends that have worked as cooks or chefs at Facebook, and Google and Netflix, and like they're all right there.
That's what happened to Seattle too.
And
like Amazon came in and just shit got fucking crazy, and it's all the way out for up to like a 2 hour drive away. It's just being pushed further and further out. But I made some good money off of selling a few properties, so
cool.
It worked out for me. But
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a very like mobile person. I can easily pick up and go because I don't have kids and because
You
my
want
job
that
is pretty
van life,
flexible.
don't you?
What?
Aren't you toying around with the idea of the van life?
Oh, I'm doing it. It's 100% happening.
Yeah. What are you going for?
I told my job. What?
What do you know what you're gonna get?
I don't know for sure. So I'm leaning more and more towards the actual literal van. I think what I'm gonna do, because I keep finding these either really cute older, like really old, like 70s van that's been kept up really nice, because those are kind of affordable, or like a newer van that's just like the bare bones, like they just ripped everything out, put a stand for the bed in the back and a couple cabinets, and that's it. And that way I could like sleep, have room for my shit. I can bring my cooler and my I have my little butane stove or whatever, and it'll just be like an extended camping trip. Because I plan to stop along the way at enough people's houses and say hello that I could, shower and do laundry and get a fresh meal or whatever.
You should get it. You should get it before the meetup and bring it there so we can pimp your van.
Dude, that'd be awesome. I was also thinking of getting, my friend has a business where he does like decals and stuff on cars and kind of pimps them out. So I was thinking of getting the Roadways logo put on the side of the van. Yeah, see, I can self-promote sometimes. I think ahead. So that'd be cool too, because I actually want to also then maybe probably not live stream, but probably do a couple episodes of like life on the road and the places that I end up and that kind of shit as like a Roadways road trip, sort of little mini episodes here and there. So I think it'll be really fun. I'm just excited to be done teaching, and it's really hard for some people to understand. The people at my work are, some of them, having a hard time with it because I think they feel like it's some sort of a betrayal, like I'm leaving teaching, so I must be judging them for staying or something. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what anybody does. I just finally realized, like, I've been doing this for 10 years and now I'm done doing it. I'm going to do something else. And the first thing I'm going to do is drive around the country. I shouldn't say country, I'm going to Canada too. Drive around the continent in a van for, maybe a year. We'll see. We'll see where I go. how it goes. And then the other thing I get is people who are like, like, oh, so you're gonna like grow dreadlocks and be like a dirty hippie. I'm like, no, I'm still gonna be myself. Like, yes, I'm not converting to a new religion and
dreadlocks. I'm gonna start listening to fucking who's still alive? There's
Ziggy.
John Mayer has a Grateful Dead cover band now with a couple of the members of the Dead.
Oh wow!
That's basically
I'm gonna start touring.
Yeah,
being a deadhead.
Hit the road, fucking sell some grilled cheese sandwiches, sell some LSD, make some plans.
I am gonna sell my curriculum. I'm gonna start packaging that up and putting it up for sale on those sites that do that, and maybe Rogueways will bring in some money, and I'm gonna try to do a couple like side operations that'll keep me funded on the actual trip so that I'm not like putting into my reserves. But
graphic novels,
books, whatever works. And then, hey, I can always like grab a couple sub jobs here and there because my certification is nationwide because I have my national boards. And so
cool.
I just like, so if I want to like stay somewhere for a while, I could hop in, get a few sub jobs, get
what are the requirements for national boards?
What's that?
How do you go about getting your nationally certified?
Most people find it to be really difficult. It's a pretty intensive operation. You basically end up, what it comes down to is you pay the national board, which is run by Pearson, who owns most of our curriculum in the United States. They're an evil, evil corporation. I hate them. They're not qualified to test and evaluate teachers on how good they are because they're not a teaching educator. They're anyway.
Okay.
And
no,
so,
I'm right there with you. I've had half my family taught.
So the pain.
I know.
Yeah. So you basically pay them $2,000 in the end, if not more, to do the support classes and whatever on the way.
Wow.
You pay them $2,000 to spend most of your time not actually teaching, but putting together just like deeply analytical, nitpicky, very specifically formatted documents that you submit on a certain timeline on certain topics. You take a test, you videotape yourself teaching. It has to prove all the shit that you said in your written stuff. And if they are very unqualified evaluators decide that you are good enough, they will then say you're nationally board certified.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes 2 years, or it did when I did it. It's different depending on what they decided to do in that moment because they change their mind all the time. Mine took 2 years and I'm only certified for 5. And some people got in when it was like 1 year to certify and it lasted for 10. So that's, nice to be them. I wish that I got that. But then again, I'm leaving and so it doesn't matter. I will have ended up getting $12,000 bonus by doing it. So when I look at it that way, I'm like, and if I would have stayed teaching, I would have got a minimum of $50,000 bonus over 5 years. So.
Okay. Man,
so it's whatever. In our state, you have to do either that or they call it the Pro Cert, which is a much easier, shorter, cheaper version that doesn't get you a bonus.
Okay.
But I was like, fuck that noise. If I'm going to put a bunch of money and time into whatever, I'm going to get something out of it.
Well, yeah. That's cool, though. So, but you would still be board certified if you took a year off in a van.
I can so the certification lasts whether you're actively teaching or not, so I have it for 5 years.
Cool.
And my teaching certification is now good for, I don't even know, probably longer than that.
Right.
But yeah, I have some wiggle room. Like if I decide to take this time off and go get in my van and drive around, and then I'm like, on second thought, I really like having a health insurance and, time off, paid time off or whatever, I can always go back to teaching here or in any state. So it's a good time to pick up and run away. So I'm going to take it while I can, while my body still works and I have the opportunity to do it.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. No, we've got like a solid dozen years before the youngest one is even like 18. And I'm not of the mind that like every parent needs to kick their kid out when they turn 18,
Right.
But I'm pretty sure that we're going to end up either tiny homing it somewhere or fucking RVing it, road dogging it, whatever, dude. I don't know.
Dude, there's some RV people who I met camping. You know, the camp hosts are usually people who like live in their RV and go from campsite to campsite being a camp host.
Mhm.
So they just get free lodging, whatever. That I'm like, that's what I want to do someday. That's
If
my
we're
retirement
still
plan.
if we're still allowed to travel internationally, and for whatever reason we find that, like, you know, we still have a show or something like that, our friend Jamarl spent like 4.5, 5 months doing his show from like Kenya or Poland or Spain
Awesome.
or, you know, Israel. Like, he got into Israel for a little bit, and he was like,
Wow.
wow, dude, it's super weird here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was like, I could pay rent, you know, where I was paying rent, or I can stay in this place for 2 months for
Yeah.
a little bit less money. And this dude gets, he's got a bad kidney. He has to have dialysis treatments.
Wow.
And he was like, you know, man, it was really hard, but it wasn't any rougher than trying to, in some cases, it was a lot easier navigating their healthcare system
Yeah.
than it was ours. And so he's doing his show. His wife works remotely. She gets to do her work while they're there. They're generally paying less rent in a foreign country than they are here.
Yes.
And they don't have anything holding them to the States outside of family. And if they have a family emergency, they're on a plane within 30 hours.
That's pretty awesome.
You know, like, if you're going to expat it,
It's a good way to do it.
right, it's either that or, like, settle down in Cambodia and become a drug lord or a bartender. I don't, you know.
Same difference. I mean.
Well, cool.
I definitely find that healthcare is easier to navigate in other countries. It's cheaper, faster. It's like I had to get my tooth pulled, and I went into the dentist to ask them if, you know, when we could possibly do it, and they're like, "Sit down right now." I was like, "What?" I literally sat down within 10 minutes, had Novocaine in my face within, like, you know, another minute, and it was gone like 2 minutes later. I was just like, Jesus, like, I wasn't prepared for the mental, like, going through that, because you're like, set it up for a month later, and then, like, whatever. Even when you get there, you sit for an hour, and it's like, this is very different. And it was like 1/100th of the price.
Yeah.
It was amazingly
Yeah.
cheap. They're like, give me $10, it's gone.
Do you think that healthcare is starting to become a national conversation, and part of the reason that the Democrats will lose to Donald Trump in 2020, barring a financial collapse, is they are running people that have announced they're running for president. Like, all of them repeat Bernie Sanders' platform, but 99% of them have Hillary Clinton's 2016 staff, have all the fucking same corporate fucking donors that Hillary Clinton did, all the same military contractors. Time Warner is fucking Kamala Harris's biggest donor. CNN has hosted a couple of town halls for her for free, so she can come out and awkwardly cover Bernie Sanders' Greatest Hits Volume 22.
Yeah.
Like,
and what a difference from when you compare to how much they just fucking blacklisted Bernie during that whole time, you know? Like, this is the opposite. They're like, no, we'll even, like, pay for you to come out. We'll, like, host it for free. Like, let's get your message out. So clearly they've learned something.
Well,
and those people are
they've
questionable.
learned that, like, fake populism can get you elected. It worked really well for Donald Trump. He ran as a fucking populist. He's not. He made that perfectly clear. And now, like, the factory that was supposed to open up in Wisconsin that he made a huge deal about, and, like, it was proof that he was the deal maker of all deal makers, and the state of Wisconsin subsidized this company to the tune of, like, $45 billion. Well, not 45, $4.5 billion. Over, like, a period. They just up and fucking crawfished on the deal, and we're like, we're going to China, guys. Fuck you.
Wow. Oh God.
Interestingly enough, Jared Kushner and his fucking family trust just purchased a giant bunch of fucking land and fucking warehouses and buildings and shit in China.
Huh.
I don't know if it's the same spot, but that was like a side article that Jared Kushner's got a whole bunch of fucking real estate and business holdings in China, and it just happened recently, and now this factory fucking up and pulls out on the deal. And the fucking state or the fucking town still has to pay, or the state of Wisconsin still has to pay them.
Well, this is like the thing. You can talk pretty, you gotta talk pretty, you gotta convince everyone to get you, and then you've got 4 years. You know, or whatever it is, whatever position it is, you got 2 years to do whatever the fuck you want, because nothing's going to happen to you if you don't do what you said,
right?
Or try, or
yeah, the worst
if
thing
you do
that,
shady shit, like we're never going to actually do anything. We've proven that.
So I don't know about that, man, because there are some genuinely cool things going on that we don't really hear about.
Yeah.
There were 32,000 people in the street today in fucking London, in England, over fucking, they're called Extinction Rebellion. And they're like...
Oh, see, I'm totally with agreement with you with this, because that's what they did for Standing Rock, and even Occupy took a really long time to get any media coverage, and by then they were shutting it down.
There were...
You know, like, they're definitely not gonna... It's true, the television, or the revolution is not gonna be televised.
The largest strike ever in India happened. Like, a couple just kicked off a few days ago.
India.
France is still fucking lit, dude. And those are rolling over into Belgium and up into, they're spreading around Europe like genuine fucking yellow vest protests that have the demands that the original yellow vest submitted. Like, here's what we want. Have you read those?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
Are they
man,
good?
I'll send them to you. Yeah, dude.
See,
it's fucking...
When you have that level of organization and foresight, shit can actually work out, I think.
That shit goes deep.
When you just run out in the streets, and I mean, I did organizing and protesting and whatever for years in my 20s, and, you know, we had massive amounts of people in 2003 for anti-war protests. We had over 50,000 people in the street in Seattle alone. Got very little press. And nothing happened. And I'm like, protesting is rad. I love that you can go out and you can visually see how many people agree with you, because you don't get to see that. Like you're saying, like, we're not seeing all of this stuff around the world. So there's something good about that and effective about that. But I think you also have to, like, have a fucking plan, dude. Like, try to carry something out. Because just standing there with signs is not going to fix everything.
Down, and it's awesome. I found it. Let me read off a couple of these things to you, man, because you're gonna love this. Really? Fuck you. So, the planned obsolescence is something that they address in their health and environment section.
I hate planned obsolescence.
Pardon?
I hate planned obsolescence. It drives me crazy. Like right now, my phone, I just got a new phone. I don't want to. It's like 3.5 years that I had my other phone. I'm like, it should just fucking work still. And I know that, like, we know that they put fucking program drain faster, or the shit fuck up. Like, they fuck it up so that you'll go get a new one. Mm-hmm. And I know that. And so I don't want to do it. But I finally, like, did it because I found a phone that was cheaper to have than keeping my old phone. Like, my bill was lowered for each month if I got this new fucking phone. So I was like, fuck you, I'll do it, you stupid bastards. I hate you. And now my computer is going through the same shit, and I'm just like, nah, it's so frustrating. I get really stubborn about it. Like, I will keep this computer for 10 more years. Try me.
These guys go everywhere from general state of the tax system, amend the Constitution to prevent the state from taking more than 25% of the income of citizens, increase of 40% in the basic pension and social welfare programs, massive hiring increase in public works, plan the construction of 5 million rent-controlled housing units to lower rents and reinvigorate the economy. In the banking monopolies, break up too big to fail banks, debt annulment. They're talking about exiting the EU. They're talking about the decolonization of Africa.
Wow.
Uh,
That's pretty fucking rad. We should just
like,
adopt the same shit and do it here. I mean, I totally get this. I get the argument about socialism not being the way to
leave
go, and that
NATO.
there's also a lot of state control that wants that sort of structure because it's also easy to co-opt and take over and turn into something
Oh,
very similar to what
absolutely.
we have now or worse. And I get that, but I also see like we're in this system, and if we don't take baby steps towards mitigating the just rampant abuse of power, amazing amounts of power that exist, then we'll never get anywhere better, I think.
I'll tell you what I told Jamal Thomas the last time that we talked, man. I am for whatever gets us to the fully automated gay luxury space communism Star Trek promised us the
Yeah.
fastest. Like that's fucking, and it's reinforced every time I see an episode. Like it really is. Like, uh, there was I think it was a Deep Space Nine episode. It's whatever one has the fucking salty Ferengi on it. I'm not really a Star Trek expert. There's people that are hating me right now for
Yes,
saying this.
me
Like they're
too. But I'm with you.
groaning.
They can hate us both.
Okay, um, but there's like a brief moment where he's talking to somebody uh, about the human race and the development and how they got to where they are, and it's a different species. Um, and he's like, "Oh no, they consider us the capitalists of the universe." And the guy's like, "Well, what happened to their capitalists?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't want to know."
You don't want to know. I'm a straight anarchist in principle. Like
Mhm.
fully I that's where I'm at. That's what I think is best for everybody, but I just don't think you can go from this very lopsided system we have to that and have it work out well. I think you have to somehow move towards a more equal, especially with wealth and power centers. You have to equalize that more before you can just jump into it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we're fond of heads on pikes and general strikes or nothing fucking changes, and we're basically to the point. Globally, people are bubbling and ready to general strike, and that is absolutely what it's going to take if we're not
I I would lean
collectively.
toward doing that before the heads on pikes, just because I know that they're going to meet force with force.
Yeah, you don't start
That's
with
what they
the heads
want.
on pikes. You don't. You wheel the guillotine out as a reminder
Yeah.
that And I know Lee Chapman's gonna fucking shit all over me and the Illuminati built the guillotine and fucking socialism is
Well, that
fucking
that can be true, and it can still be an effective method of change. Like
exactly,
there,
man.
we don't
Exactly.
have to be black and white in our thinking. There's a lot of wiggle room, and that's part of I think um, the total control that they have is that they know all of the possible ways we can go in our thinking, and they're going to put as many roadblocks in there as possible. So it could be true the guillotine is a fucking Illuminati, whatever, but it also could be true that reminding the people that it was used before, possibly effectively.
And
Like
not
I don't
only
know.
that, but our friend Ben is right. A revolution just brings you back to the same spot. And
Mhm.
what we need to think about is becoming something better, becoming
Yes.
something different, where the concept of how we view wealth, what we view as wealth, what we view as an investment in terms of a sustainable place to live and a
Yes.
sustainable place for our family to live.
And a place
Uh,
where you're happy to be a part of a community too. I mean, it really does have to come back to like self-development and self-responsibility at the core of it all, or none of those things that we're talking about are going to have mattered in the end anyway.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I should probably split, but it has been awesome hanging out with you.
You too. Every time. It's great to be here.
Fucking until next time, Lindsay, thank you so much. You can find Rogueways on what are all of your platforms for that? And I know you have a
So
Patreon which you should totally push.
yes, so Patreon, you can look for Corey Scharmyn. It's QUORRISCHARMYN. My bad, it's actually Rogueways. Patreon, Rogueways on Patreon. And you can also go to rogueways.org. which will take you to my website where you can find all of the archive of Rogueways. You can find me on YouTube under Rogueways, where you can also see the archive of that, and Chat and Higher Side, which was also a fun show from last year. And that's pretty much all the ways, I believe.
Cool. And fuck, man, it's always good to chill with you. Okay, and so
Always good to chill with you too. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, good luck to us all.
Yes, amen.